Hello, everyone. Happy Hump Day. Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. We're going to get started yet again because the first live stream kind of failed and we're going to get right into it. Time is running out, guys. Please let me know if the chat is working. If you are in here, make sure that you are engaging with us. That's why we are here. We have a lot to talk about. We are going to talk about Buddy the dog, Mr. Kohberger, Dylan. Are they psychopathic? Because we know that there are several narratives being pushed. It's almost part of having a case going on, right? Hello, Shane. Hello, Hoppers. Welcome, guys. And if you're not yet subscribed, make sure that you're subscribing. By the way, guys, before we delve deep into this, these are my opinions, these are my theories, and just for people who are very sensitive, we're going to be talking about animals being hurt, okay? This is your one and only trigger warning. So if you can't handle this type of information, maybe just don't watch this video. That being said, I also want to give a shout out to Jules True Crime because she did so much searching, FOIA request regarding Buddy the dog, and she goes into even deeper, more gory detail. So if you are interested in that, I'm not going to get as gory, as deep as she did. It's pretty disgusting what happened to Buddy the dog. And we're talking about it because, again, the state is pushing a narrative. Guilters are pushing a narrative saying that Mr. Kohberger and Buddy the dog are linked and that only somebody like Mr. Kohberger could commit such a heinous crime as hurting, unaliving Buddy the dog and then unaliving the 4 victims, right? So I'm going to take it just a step further. And if your fur baby is right beside you, small fries, maybe cover his or her ears because this is going to be triggering again for a lot of people. Now, I want to talk about Buddy the dog, but maybe you guys have not heard of Lily the dog, Tumble the dog, were also animals that were hurt. Some were, Lily was unalived. We're going to be talking about the skinned rabbits. We're going to be talking about the skinned coyotes. What do they all have in common? And did Brian fillet Buddy the dog? Did he do the IDAHO4? Now, let's go back in time. Let's go analyze the interviews regarding Mr. Kohberger when he worked at the fish market, right? We have heard from his boss that he was really, really bad at filleting fish. He had troubles holding the knife, and on top of that, he was socially awkward, which now we can probably assume it was because he has autism spectrum disorder, and we've also seen his other diagnosis where he basically has issues with movement, so coordination, so meaning he's very bad at filleting fish, right? As in holding a knife, skinning the fish, it takes several small movements. So keep that in mind as we are going through this video. Now, personally, as a vegan myself, I don't push it on anybody, but I have never met a vegan that would hurt an animal. And like I mentioned, Jules True Crime goes into detail of what happened to Buddy the dog and to the other animals, okay? There was basically somebody doing what sounds like brain surgery, removing the brain out of the skull. I don't think a vegan would do that. Now, let's just put the rumors to rest that Brian Kohberger is a psychopath responsible for the IDAHO4 and for Buddy. By the way, if you have kept tabs along this entire, 2.5 years already, we have now seen some of Mr. Kohberger's psych reports. And we have seen a lot of his diagnoses, and I think that he would have had a psychopathic diagnosis, okay? But nobody wants to talk about Jack Showalter, the hunter. Everybody forgot about Jack Showalter. What about Dylan? What about Dylan Morrison, who people have said hated Murphy, okay? As some of you have studied psychology like myself, okay, we all know that some of the early warning signs of potential psychopathy in juveniles is what? Hurting animals, right? And guess who is indirectly accused of hurting Buddy? Okay, it was an underage female. That's right. People are very easily manipulated to, they basically have a hard time believing that an underage female could do something so horrific to Buddy the dog. People are like, oh my God, no way, a female. I'm like, you do understand that females, psychopathic females, or even juveniles who cannot yet be diagnosed with psychopathy, okay, they're more likely to go under the radar when they commit these crimes, these type of crimes towards humans or towards animals. And even in the cases when they are caught, they are so much better at manipulating a court of law. And this is due to bias, such as, you know, the pretty blonde, I forget her name, but she only did a year of house arrest. There was this case of this pretty blonde woman. She literally shanked her boyfriend over and over and over again. And what was the outcome of that? Yeah, the judge said she was too pretty and too young to be in jail, that would ruin her future. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I know damn well that a male would not get that pass. He would not get that pass. But if you're an attractive female, you can get away with basically unaliving people sometimes. Or like this woman did, shanked her boyfriend, gets 1 year of house arrest. The judge literally said, she's too pretty to go to jail. She'll ruin her future. Now, let's talk about Lily the dog, right? By the way, Jules has all the legal documentation that popped up regarding Buddy the dog, the way he was cut up. It's like somebody performed surgery. And for people that were saying, it could be coyotes, there's no way that an underage female could have committed some horrible crime like this. There's just no way. Again, are you delusional? Because women get away with crimes. Even underage women get away with crimes all of the time. And it's very problematic when we have analyzed in psychology, when we have analyzed studies regarding people who commit violent crime towards animals, the odds of them committing something much worse on their human counterparts is extremely, extremely high, okay? We understand that hurting animals and psychopathy are extremely, very tightly correlated, okay? And when I thought about what was mentioned in those very gory details that, of course, a lot of it was redacted by law enforcement once Jules got the documents, it's very concerning to me that there is potentially a young female out there who would commit something so crazy, okay? This young woman who people assumed she was a suspect of unaliving Buddy, the poor dog. May Buddy rest in peace, please. What is it to stop us from assuming that this juvenile at the time, that this juvenile young woman could have committed the IDAHO4? Okay. But again, people are too deluded, they're too biased. They assume that no woman can hurt an animal, much less take 4 people out. But there's cases of psychopathic serial unalivers that have been female, guys. Now, I wanted to talk about Lily the dog because most of you have heard of Buddy the dog, but a lot of you have not heard about Lily the dog. This is very sad, very triggering. We're going to be talking about Connor Jacobson. Who in the world is Connor Jacobson? I personally think that Connor Jacobson has issues. I think if somebody were to sit down with him, they may diagnose him with psychopathy. And again, I'm going to go through the report. This is actually something I found on Facebook on an Idaho animal cruelty page. And this is what it says, guys. Bear with me. Again, this is your trigger warning. If you're very sensitive regarding animal cruelty, please go away because this is it's a little much even for me, right? It says, today we are happy to report that Connor Jacobson has been charged with 2 counts of animal cruelty in Latah County, Idaho. And for anyone who wants to look it up, It is LCSO 25-L0901, right? These charges are in relation to the passing away of Lily and the injuries to Tumble. Connor's first court appearance is scheduled for March 24th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. at the Latah County Courthouse. Below, we are sharing Shannon Quinn's account of what occurred at that fateful day. Shannon Quinn and her adult children are Lily and Tumble's owners. We are grateful to the Latah County Sheriff's Office and the work they put in for the investigation. So who is this disgusting person known as Connor Jacobson who is out there unaliving dogs? So the owners of Lily and Tumble, these two dogs, one was unalived, one was injured severely. Saturday, February 15, 2025, changed my life and that of my family. It was a typical Saturday. My husband and I prepared to leave our home in Troy to purchase groceries in Moscow, as well as celebrate Valentine's Day. A little late, our daughter Holly and her boyfriend were already in town. As we were leaving, Connor Jacobson, who had been living with us after he became homeless, arrived. Be very careful of the homeless people that you take in, by the way. So these people were kind enough to take this homeless man to their home, and this is what he does in return. Connor Jacobson. We chatted briefly with him and left. We first met him in November of 2022. That's effing odd, because November 2022 is also when the IDAHO4 took place. What it is, I don't know. We first met him in November of 2022. He was not a stranger. We had said goodbye to the dogs. Our 5-year-old mixed breed, Lily and Holly and Justice, recent rescued Tumble. We promised them we would be home soon. It was 2:02 p.m. and my grocery cart was full when I received a photo and message from Renee V asking if I recognized a border collie lying on the tailgate of her truck. She had found him at the end of our driveway. It was Tumble, collarless, and still more than I had ever seen him. In a state of dazed panic, we rushed from the store and made arrangements to meet our friend who had wrapped him in coats and placed him in her back seat for the trip to the Washington State University Vet Hospital, about 22 miles from home. As we waited, I called Connor and told him about Tumble and asked what happened. Oh yeah, he said, I need to talk to you about your dogs. Lily is dead. Okay, this person does not sound like they are normal, right? The note of joviality was unnerving. Can you imagine? You're calling this guy to ask about the dogs, this homeless person that you took in, and they sound jolly on the other end, saying, oh yeah, by the way, your dog is dead. Yeah, that would really piss me off, right? The last word seemed to end in a half-suppressed chuckle. He had let the dogs out, he said. Tumble. Sorry, guys, hold on. He had let the dogs out, he said. Tumble had run away. Lily sat on the back porch and inexplicably died. How does a dog just magically pass away? I rode with Tumble in the backseat of that truck. His red fluid on my hands, my legs, and my face from where I kissed his face and head and told him I loved him. We were both shaking this time. My greatest hope at that point was Holly and Justice would make it to WSU before Tumble passed away. Hours later, after loans were secured and paid to WSU's small animal hospital, I watched my daughter with tears rolling down her face, kissing her dog in the ICU. The arrival to our home that evening was surreal. Blood and broken sheetrock littered in the kitchen, dining room, and master bedroom. It was beneath the bed with Lily's bloody harness. There was more under the dining table and with Tumble's broken collar and homemade wooden tag. It splattered the walls. Our freshly painted deep yellow with irregular red polka dots. Connor pretended to sleep. What does this tell me as somebody who has a master's degree in psychology 4.0? I'm telling you, this Connor Jacobson is disgusting, is sick. The odds of him scoring high in psychopathic traits are like 99.99999%, right? Who does this unless somebody has psychopathic traits? There were few questions remaining. We could see what happened with a clarity we didn't want to have. So again, who would want to have that clarity? You took this homeless man in, you gave him your house. He's been with you for what? November 2022 through now, through March 2025, and he goes and unalives your dogs and injures them? Who would want to believe that? But there was no other explanation. Where did the blood come from? Why is there a hole with blood smears surrounding it on the kitchen wall? What really happened to Lily? Of course he doesn't know. He just let them out. I told him to leave, but he wasn't moving. He asked me why. He asked if I was kidding. He asked if he could take a shower first because you kicked my dog to be unalived. I told him, and no. As Latah County Sheriff's deputies escorted him away, he asked if he could borrow my truck the next week. Sick. For days following, as he continued to call to text to ask how Tumble was, we were finding more and more blood, broken objects, and evidence of violence. Do you think somebody that hurt 2 dogs, unalived one like this, in a violent manner is capable of the Idaho 4? Because I think, personally, yes. This was not a simple loss of temper. The evidence of the brutality against our animals was everywhere. They were chased down and beaten. On December 11, 2019, my family welcomed into the family a fluffy white puppy of no discernible breed. We watched and assisted as she was born, as she grew and her fluffy white hair grew longer and was shot through with gray and black. We named her Lily. Lily played fetch with tennis balls and would place them upon return into our hands for another toss. She was undertrained but could sit, lie down, obey, command, roll over. She slept between my husband and I. Summertime would find her on hot nights between my feet. Tumble was a more recent addition, a skinny little border collie. Tumble is still alive, but check this out. Lily was violently beat to basically death. Tumble suffers with cerebral hypoplasia, a condition defined by underdevelopment of the cerebellum, which is responsible for such things as balance and coordination, and fails to properly develop. He stumbles and occasionally tumbles. His head shakes when he's excited by the sight of dog treats. Lily and Tumble were fast friends. They loved everyone and would only bark at newcomers until they petted her. Tumble was gentle. Tumble survived against all expectations and returned home. He searched for Lily. He was not only hurt and medicated, he was heartbroken, and so were we. We can see where our pets tried to hide under the table under our bed. Their blood marked those spots. We keep our doors locked now, even when we're home. At night, I check each window and door multiple times to be certain he will not gain entrance as we sleep. Please seek the maximum penalties against Connor Jacobson. He should never be able to own an animal or live in a home where animals do. Okay, now what does this have to do with the Idaho 4? Okay, what this has to do with the Idaho 4, guys, is that we have somebody here by the name of Connor Jacobson, who was, according to this Facebook post, according to the owners of this dog, these 2 dogs, one that was unalived and the other one almost didn't make it, he became homeless November 2022. I would love to know why Connor Jacobson became homeless. Again, this is a grown man hurting on animals. And on top of that, we have Buddy the dog, who was skinned. They performed like brain surgery on him. People suspect a female. It just makes you wonder if law enforcement looked into any other possible suspects. And when we pull up psychological studies regarding violence towards animals, the odds of them becoming dangerous to humans is extremely high. So if we are to believe that Moscow PD and the entire state has spent millions of dollars on this case, how did they actually spend it? You would think that they would be hiring top detectives, psychologists, to understand the type of person that committed the Idaho 4. In my opinion, the type of person that committed the Idaho 4 was somebody similar to Connor Jacobson, or was somebody similar to the juvenile girl that is suspected of unaliving Buddy the dog. And I will try to share some pictures. They are very distressing. I will put them up on the thumbnail. What these dogs went through, like the blood splatters, it's disgusting. There's literally red fluid and dog hair everywhere. It's disgusting. Why are these small towns in Idaho appearing to be cultish or a breeding ground for psychopathic people. But I wanted to put this video up because I am still shocked that people are trying to pin Buddy the dog on Mr. Kohberger. Somebody who has coordination issues, somebody who is on the spectrum. People on the spectrum are less likely to commit violent crimes, statistically speaking. And not only that, but we have people in the FOIA request retrieved by Jules mentioning a juvenile female unaliving Buddy potentially. And then we have this person who, in my opinion, scores extremely high in psychopathic traits to hurt an animal in a violent manner, chase them, do whatever they did to them, make a red fluid mess all over the house and dog hair mess all over the house. We should look at these people. But Murphy was not hurt at all. And you know what's interesting? There are cases where psychopathic people or people who score high in psychopathic traits can build some sort of bond with an animal. I wouldn't call it like an emotional bond, but animals can also be seen as trophies, right? So let's just pretend for a second that Kaylee was the target. And if somebody was trying to hurt Kaylee, get back at her, what better way than to keep her dog as a trophy? Most serial unalivers keep trophies of their victims, okay? A dog would be the perfect trophy because you get to keep it, maybe you get to keep it, right? And we understand that there are some theories out there pointing to Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. I'm not saying he did or did not do it. He was involved or did not. I'm just saying that if you wanted to keep a trophy, that's what you would do, right? Keep Murphy. Why not keep Murphy? How are you guys doing in the chat? And what about the coyotes that had been skinned? Do you guys remember that? There were rumors that people were skinning coyotes and leaving heads of animals. Were those the frats? Is it Jackass? Who was doing that? Or is this the same person? But what's very concerning to me is that this all happened, guys, with Buddy the dog around 2:30 to 3 in the morning. And we've heard, what about the IDAHO4? That 2 a.m. was a dark hour. That's what we have heard. And what's very odd to me, I find it a little odd, right? Buddy the dog was released by his owners. They were taking out their dog to go potty, and they are like, apparently have 6+ acres, and Buddy wasn't coming back, but they're like, we'll just get him in the morning. I think that's a little bit weird, especially if you live out kind of in the middle of nowhere with a lot of acreage. Why wouldn't you wait for your dog to come back? And I'm not pointing fingers at the owners. In hindsight, we do stupid things, but you would think that you'd wait for your dog. You live in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. You know that there's coyotes everywhere. Do you guys think it's a little bit weird? Maybe he wasn't thinking about it. Maybe just the owner wanted to go back to bed and they're like, we'll leave Buddy out here. We'll let him go pee. Next thing, the dogs of the neighbor, 4+ dogs, are going crazy. They're going wild. And it is my opinion that they sniffed out a psychopath. They smelled a weird person out there, or they knew that they were in danger. And then the following day, you know, Buddy's found unalived. Could they have used a dog whistle? Was Buddy assigned? Alex says Buddy was killed as a sign to those who may rat. And what's very concerning to me is that after they went to the police to report what had happened to Buddy, and they ruled out Buddy being attacked by coyotes, Buddy being attacked by other animals, you know what happened to the owners? Their mailbox got beaten up. It got destroyed. It was destroyed, not by an animal. Okay, I think this was also a sign of somebody saying, you better not rat. Why are you going to the police? Did they know something? That's concerning to me. Here we have a dog who was unalived 2:30 to 3 in the morning. And when law enforcement becomes involved, the mailbox is being attacked by whoever committed the crime potentially. That's very concerning. And the fact that in the FOIA request that Jules showed us, it sounds like whoever suspected this juvenile female unaliving Buddy the dog in a horrific manner was afraid to report this juvenile female. There is no reason why any adult should be afraid of a juvenile female, unless, of course, they have a track record or they have a certain, story to them. If the whole town is perceiving this juvenile female as potentially dangerous, that's a problem. If we have adults who are afraid to go to law enforcement and point the finger at an underage female for unaliving their dog, potentially, that screams that it's very possible that this underage female at the time is dangerous. Okay. Adults don't normally fear teenagers unless there's a reason to, right? Okay. Female offenders, in my opinion, I have worked with female offenders in the field of psychology, and they can be, in my opinion, even more dangerous than men. Even more dangerous because a lot of people, because of their bias, will not suspect them. Okay. Hello, Shane. Hello, Hoppers. Hello, Small Fries. Hello, My Pal Sal Vintage. Hi, Shane. Michael says, it's a miracle I made it back in here for live. Welcome. Hello, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. I missed a lot of you guys. Justice for Buddy. Yes, Sunny Productions. Ren says, I heard that a person who analyzed BK had done kind of connection through marriage to Christy. Tuesday's child. My sis is a charge nurse for a prison. The female offenders have done some of the sickest shit I've ever heard of. Oh, yeah. It's very common. Kelly Farley, they did not release her name in the FOIA request that Jules shared with us. Michael Green, Chili Chicken, says that's basically what Lizzie Borden was acquitted. They could not in a million years picture a lady doing that. Isn't that disgusting? Isn't that disgusting? Tanji Empire, caught another live as I get off of work in Virginia. Oh my gosh. Hello. Drive safe. Hop by gravy. How's the traffic? Justice for Kilo says, well, at least police are doing something about them committing animal cruelty, which is more than I can say about my local department. It doesn't sound like they actually did anything, because when I pulled up that Facebook post, guys, the Idaho animal, let's see if I can pull it up here. They basically were not happy with the results, okay? The Idaho Cruelty Foundation, I think their name is, they were not happy with the results. They said, we need to fix the law. The state isn't doing anything. It's really unfortunate. And it's just strange that people are trying to pin this crime that has literally no ties to Mr. Kohberger. But again, that is the state trying to paint their narrative, right? Pressure drop. Please go watch from the beginning to go listen to what I said about Jacob Connerson, please. He basically 2 dogs, unalived one in a violent, horrific manner, right? And the other one almost did not make it. My pal Sal Vintage says it's very sus. Tony Stevens says, as a homeless man, hard pass. Go to the city mission. Yeah, that's a risky situation, right? And I guess they thought that they could trust him because they knew him from back in November 2022. I'm like, I want to know more about Jacob Connerson. What was he doing prior to November 2022? This is a grown man who is homeless. He's being housed by somebody who's trying to help him, goes in and unalives a dog in a violent, horrific manner. Hair, red fluid all over the house. Is it possible that he could have committed the IDAHO4? In my opinion, it is more likely that Jacob Connerson or that the underage girl who is suspected of unaliving Buddy the dog, an underage female. Yes, you heard it right. Stop saying that. Oh my God, a young girl would never. I don't know any young girl who would ever. You need to do your research then if that's the case, because there are plenty of women, plenty of underage women as well who have committed horrific crimes. In fact, here in the Chicago area, just a few years ago, we had 2 15-year-olds unalive a man outside a mall for his cell phone. Yeah. They should be looking into that, right? We know that Mr. Kohberger does not have a track record of violence. No crimes ever committed. Violent crimes. And they're like, $5 skinning these animals. That's how psychopaths start. Yes, that is closely correlated with psychopaths, right? When we see animal violence. But we've never seen any of that from Mr. Kohberger. But we have seen that from this potential suspect, underage female who is suspected of unaliving Buddy the dog. Disgusting, sick, mentally ill, whatever you want to call it. And then we have Jacob Connerson unaliving one dog and sending the other one to the hospital. That dog will never be the same again, right? Hello, Alex. Yes, of course there is HT in Idaho. It's actually everywhere. It's huge here in Illinois as well, right? Open your peepers. Hey girl, on a bit of a delay. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much, you two. I feel like a lot are from, yeah, I agree. From those type of households, yes. Too fast for fleas. Why wouldn't the prosecution release the information until the case is over? Or better question, how long does an animal cruelty case take to go to court? Sometimes they never go to court because it's not a priority, unfortunately, right? The Buddy case is close. It has nothing to do with BK or the IDAHO4. Says Squirrel Kiss says, yes, exactly. But tell that to the guilters because for some reason, they're still talking about Buddy the dog and Kohberger and being a psychopath, right? Thank you, Janie Kendall. Not enough likes. Hit the like. Yeah, hit the like, right? You might as well. Don't be a hater. Do we know about who their parents Phoebe? Because her name is not released. It's 19 underage in Idaho. I don't think so. I don't think so, right? I agree with Buddy. Anyone that can do that to a dog is definitely a person that wants to do the same to humans. They would get it. Yes. Off on that more. Oh, for sure. For sure. But my concern is, why are there so many people with psychopathic traits in Idaho, in these small towns, like literally right next to each other? Is it a breeding ground? Some people have speculated this has some cultish undertones. I don't think it's cultish. I think it's just psychopathic. Photography by Crystal. Nika, amazing broadcast as always. Love from the Valley. Thank you so much, Crystal. You have a good day. And that's right, Shane. Police will not release a report on the killed dog either. Are you talking about Buddy? Because that report was shared, I think just yesterday, by Jules. One of you guys sent me her video. Shout out to Jules. I'm a big fan. That being said, for me, it's too much to cover what she covered. That's just me. Go watch her video, but letting you know right now, it's extremely graphic. And that's with like half of the report being redacted. Still very graphic. So just be careful, but definitely go support her. So thank you guys so much for joining me in today's live, in today's chat. Maybe if I have time, I will upload another one. I want to talk about Dylan. I wanted to talk about Dylan. I'm just wondering, because there was an underage female suspected of unaliving Buddy the dog, could it have been Dylan? We have heard rumors that she was not a fan of Murphy. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope there's no issues. I see that it's like crashing here. Some of you guys said that there's some issues with the stream, so I'm gonna head out. Thank you guys. Take care.